Welcome to the Warbird Mistress. This is London Calling. Good evening. Today is Friday, 19 July 1940. Today we saw more light showers intermixed with clear bright skies and light winds over the Channel. Last night Mr. Goring's men kept busy over the Isle of Wight, Plymouth, Harwich and the Thames Estuary. Early morning bombing at 03:14 hours at Peterhead and 06:06 hours at Norwich caused 4 dead and 78 injured among our civilian population. England was also the target of pamphleteering when Herr Hitler's speech today, his last appeal to reason, was dropped over our cities. The oversized English translations of his speech were complete with his usual baiting and ranting, and will serve to help relieve our besieged nation's supply of paper for the privy. Unfortunately, paper was not the only delivery from the Luftwaffe today. It was, in fact, a sad day for the Royal Air Force, especially for No. 141 Squadron. At 12:45, south of Folkestone, only a quarter hour after taking off, a patrol of 9 Defiant fighters in tight formation were surprised by a flight of 20 Bf-109s from 3 JG-51. The Huns downed 6 of the turret fighters, one after the other, in a series of attacks from below and behind. A single Bf-109 was damaged heavily by Air Gunner Sergeant Powell, and that machine would crash land before making it home. The massacre ended with the arrival of Hurricanes from No. 111 Squadron that had been diverted to assist. Several of the airmen were able to bail out. The 3 remaining Defiants were also able to evade Messerschmitts while the Hurricanes kept them busy, but suffered damage. Less successful against another German fighter sweep were the Hurricanes of No. 43 Squadron off Selsey Bill at 14:30 hours. The Bf-109s of 3 JG-27 shot down 2 of the 12 sent to intercept them, while only 1 of their number suffered significant damage. The fight was not yet over for the day, as at 1600 hours, a strike of Stukas with heavy escort from 3 JG-51's Bf-109s arrived over Dover. They were intercepted by a large force of Hurricanes and Spitfires from 32, 63, and 74 squadrons. While 2 Bf-109s were damaged by the fighters, together with a Hurricane and 2 Spitfires, the Stukas did make it to their targets. G-class destroyer HMS Griffin and B-class destroyer HMS Beagle suffered no direct hits but were damaged by several near misses. The minesweeping trawler HMT Crestflower was sunk, and the Royal Fleet Auxiliary tanker War Sepoy was heavily damaged when her keel was broken in 2. 1 Focke-Wulf 200 Condor was shot down by anti-aircraft fire in the late night hours. 2 crewmen were captured and 4 were killed. Total German losses counted 5 aircraft and 13 pilots and aircrew. British losses counted 10 aircraft and 11 airmen. No. 141 Squadron's Defiant L7009 was shot down and crashed into a Dover neighborhood. The pilot was Flight Lieutenant Ian David Graham Donald of Church Fenton, son of Air Marshal Sir David Graham Donald. A graduate of Cranwell, he flew Hawker Demons before taking the helm of a Defiant in October last year. He was killed by gunfire from a Bf-109. His gunner, Pilot Officer Arthur Charles Hamilton, a stockbroker's clerk from North Harrow, had only joined the RAF Volunteer Reserve in March of this year. He bailed out of his Defiant, but drowned before rescue crews could get to him. Defiant L6974 crashed into the Channel after being shot down by a Bf-109. Pilot Officer John Richard Kemp of Napier, New Zealand, and his gunner, Sergeant Robert William Crombie of Lightwater, Surrey, were both killed. Neither man's body will ever be recovered. Defiant L6995 also crashed into the sea after being shot down. Pilot Officer Richard Alexander Howley of St. John's, Dominion of Newfoundland, had only just been assigned to Defiant last month after a career spent mostly on ferrying duty. His gunner, Sergeant Albert George Curley of Bushey, Hertfordshire, son of a Boer War and Great War veteran who also served in the infamous RIC Auxiliary Division, Curley had joined the RAF Volunteer Reserve in May 1939. Called up when the war broke out, he went through air gunnery training and was assigned to join 141 Squadron last month. Neither man will be found, and they are presumed to have drowned in the Channel. Also lost and presumed drowned are the crewmen of Defiant L7015. Pilot Officer Rudal Kinson of Wellington, New Zealand, served as a sapper with 2nd Battalion New Zealand Engineers, and was a sheep farmer before leaving for the UK on his own farthing in February 1938 and enlisting for a short service commission. Like many of 141 Squadron, he had received no operational training in their new turret fighters. His gunner was Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve Sergeant F. Peter John Atkins of Oxford. His body will wash ashore on the French coast and be buried in Boulogne. Defiant L7016 was also lost at sea, costing the life of gunner pilot officer Dudley Malins Slatter of Southsea, who drowned in his turret. Just commissioned from the ranks on 3 July, he was unable to extricate himself, likely due to the pressure on the latches holding the turret in place. His pilot officer J.R. Garner, did somehow get himself out of the aircraft when it was already at considerable depth and was rescued 4 miles off Dover. Defiant L6983's gunner, Sergeant John Francis Wise, was lost at sea. Born in Poplar to an English mother and a German father who had been naturalized British in 1911, he joined the Volunteer Reserve in April 1939. Urged to bail out over the channel when the aircraft was hit, he is presumed drowned. The pilot officer McDougall, survived and managed to get the aircraft back to base, and this is something of a miracle as the engine had received a direct hit from a 20mm shell. The final casualty in today's list is Sergeant James Allen Buck of Sholtonville, Manchester, flying Hurricane P3531 with No. 43 Squadron. Son of an Irvingian minister, he joined the Volunteer Reserve in October 1938 and had a shared victory under his belt when he helped down a DO-17 on the 7th of this month. He was shot down off Selsey and his body will wash ashore at Worthing tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in to the Warbird Mistress. This is London Calling, a day-by-day detail of the Battle of Britain, and I hope that you subscribe, watch the playlist for new editions, and do check out other offerings on this channel. Subscriptions through Patreon and YouTube are more than welcome to keep this channel going. Thank you and take care.